say, I came here at 5 actually, and I was going around to find the place. I was there waiting there. Normally we take it at the other auditorium, no? I used to come there, and then I was waiting. At 5 or so, I came to know that there is another place. Hello? I'm in the director. You have to play. Yeah. See, only now they call it. Okay, right. So, let's see what we can talk about today. I changed this sustainable development and environmental considerations. Basically, I have put so many things here, but then maybe this is what your timetable is something to do with climate change and the development. Right? So I put the title as sustainable development and environmental considerations because I hope you all are all engineers. So people say that engineers did consider about environment, but nowadays it's not like that. You want to study environment as well in the universities, but olden days it's not like that. Do your work, you don't consider that's around. Right? That should be the way, because we need to develop this country in a sustainable manner, not in a different way. Right. So let me first talk about what is sustainability, what is development, and then link up that with other things that we see today. Right? That's what I'm going to do. So first of all, let's see when you talk about development, what do you mean by development? You can talk about in different ways, but I thought maybe we can define or explain the development as the act or process of growing, or forcing something to grow, or become large, or become more advanced. What is basically development. Then, when you talk about development, we mainly talk about economic development. There's a reason for that. Of course, people are interested in economy, right? More than other things, right? So, therefore, if you just think of economic development, we can, define or consider that as process by which the nation improve the economic, political, and social well-being of people, improve quality of life through modernization, industrialization. That's the economic development. Hopefully, even this definition will fit in, because we have to not only economic, political and social well-being. Only then that we can think of as an economic development. Right? Then, if that is the case, what is the sustainability? How it comes in? What is sustainability? Sustainability, of course, you all know, it is the development that meets the needs of today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So that's the just very logical definition of sustainable development. So taking into consideration economic development, which is that consider political and social well-being, and we have to think of this as well. The sustainable development is this. Okay, so in you all have seen this, I know. In 2012, we had Rio plus 20. When I say Rio, some of you know, but some of you don't know. Rio Convention was initiated in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And then They are, it was organized by the UN, and a lot of environment-related things were discussed. And then we also had Rio Plus 10, which was held in South Africa in 2002. And then 2012, we had Rio Plus 20, again in Rio. There was a discussion on the development, of course, the environment and social, all that, and they came up with a future we want as a document called future we want. There you have these 17 development goals. It covers every field, social, environmental, economic, everything is here, right? Because the 17th one is, putting everything together, basically 16, right? So it has no poverty. In other words, when you develop, there cannot be poverty. But you don't know how you can achieve that. Even so-called developed countries also, we are poverty. Right? There are poor people, right? Then, of course, no hunger, good education, good health, quality education, all this, So these are all 17 development goals, and whole world has to recognize this. And of course, this has linked to the Paris Agreement. We're talking about it a little bit. You have heard about Paris Agreement. It came up in 2015 in Paris. That's why it's called Paris Agreement. That came up through the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay. So every year you have this convention, Climate Convention, United Nations. So these things were recreated. I'll show how. This was also because 2012 is initiated, but 2015 we had the Paris Agreement at UNFCCC COP21. So these are we need to have, because we are also part of this, and we have in this country we have a commission now, Sustainable Development Commission, headed by the President. I happen to be a member still, and of course we are working on these things, and then all the whole country, the department, ministries, everybody is involved, because this is multidisciplinary, not single ministry, single institute. So everybody has to work together in this, right? Okay. Now these 17, of course, in detail. This will be given to you, no problem, right? You don't have to write down. They will give you because it's already copied, right? So these 17 goals are there. Then what they have to say, for example, end poverty in all forms everywhere. Whole one. So likewise, you have detail, and of course there are not only this. There are of course targets also. Right? Later on, I will show you that. So these are the sustainable development goals. Now, the 16 or 17, we can separate it into say when it comes to development. Later on, I will talk to you. We have considered environment, we have considered economic development, and also social aspects, society. So all three aspects has to be considered. You are thinking of a sustainable development. So if you just take this into separate, so the biosphere we have 4. We can, of course, they are interlinked, but we can just think mainly these 4 are biosphere related, or the environment related, right? Life on Earth, life on the sea, and climate change, and also water, sanitation. So they are like the biosphere society, okay? Biospheric environment. So environment for the biosphere. Then we have the society, social aspects, right? Yeah, we have education, health, many other things. Okay? But how many? 8. 4, 8, and again 4 related to economy. Okay? So we have 16 here. 4, 8, 4. 60, and combined we have 70. Right? So this is how the development goals are categorized. So of course, they are interlinked. Now, if you take, for example, climate change, it links up with the society, economy, everywhere. Right? So we cannot separate it. But for the time's sake, we can take it as the one that is more related to this. So social, environmental, aspects. Okay. So I just put this one: no survival without sustainability. Because we should know by now what happens if you don't think of sustainability or the future, right? So sustainable development includes 3 independent components. I will be talking about these 3. We have economic issues, economic development, social issues has to be considered. You are thinking of development, and the environmental issues has to be considered. So all 3 aspects have to be considered. You are thinking of a real development, which is sustainable. Just ignore environment, it won't be sustainable. If you don't consider social aspects, it won't be sustainable. So that's why all 3 are interlinked. We need to focus and have to give attention to all these 3 if you are thinking of future development. So for our country, we have to really, many of you are in places where development is taking place. I'm sure not today, tomorrow you will be. Therefore, please keep this in mind, because without this, there's no future, no survival. Okay, so this is how it is: environment, economic, and social. So, environment and economic is to be viable, right? You cannot consider economic without environment. Then equitable, social, and bearable. Environment and social be a bearable situation. So, putting all 3 together, we consider this as sustainable. So, a lot of work has to go into this, and this is considered the best way of looking at development throughout the world. Not only Sri Lanka, but everybody accept this. I say accept, but for example, some people will not accept. Say, for example, USA President Trump is saying this climate change is nothing to consider. They do their own way. There are cases like that, but generally, learned people will consider this in the main way of doing things. Okay, so now I'm coming to systems and convergent planning. Now, as I said, there are 17 sustainable development goals. In that, we have 169 targets. Targets are each goal has several targets. Targets are also meant, it's globally accepted. Then, of course, in this country, now in order to implement this, it is diverse, it's very difficult to implement something, right? So, this is slightly old chart, because we had 51 ministries last year. Okay, now I don't know how many ministries. Anybody knows how many ministries are there in this country? We don't know, right? So that's the problem, actually. Trying to increase 30, something 30, we want 35, 48, like that. So anyway, it's a problem case. That's why I put it. Then we have 9 agencies, 425 9 agencies. We have to work with all everybody, right? Because otherwise they will do something, and this common thing will not happen. They will go over there. Still, it is happening, right? 125 we have counted, but it is increasing now. I think now maybe more. I know some people are developing some agencies, some some corporations. Things are happening. So it will be more now. I don't know, right? So more is difficult to work with. So in Sri Lanka also we have central government. Okay. Under that government we have so many ministries. Then we have provincial councils, right? Provincial councils also have ministries, right? And then they have their own way of planning, budgeting, everything is there. Then we have local authorities. 335. I don't know whether it's increased now. 23 municipals, 40 division councils. Right? So Now, when we try to do something in this country, we need to work with all these people, all these agencies. Otherwise, it won't be successful. We have, by experience, known this, right? So, I work at the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Environment Development, and also Science and Technology, but I see the problems. Okay? So, therefore, I mean, we can criticize, but then no point criticizing, but then we need to be mindful that when we try to do something, there are so many other things that we have to do. That's all I'm saying this year, because we need to work within the system. Okay? Right. Now, let's consider the environmental considerations. Okay, my main focus will be on climate change today, but there are other things, not only climate change, when you consider environment, there are other things, right? But many other things are related to climate change as well. I'll show you now. See, for example, sometimes we talk about ozone depletion, ozone layer depletion. Have you heard? Some time ago, I was driving that 10, 20 years ago. But at that time, when anybody talks about environment, they talk about ozone layer. Right? Maybe now there are other things. Okay, under this now we have climate change, we have drought. Hopefully this is good, but last 2 years it was really problem faced. Droughts, then floods. One part of the country is having. Even this year we had in the northern part we had floods, this year, and then we have droughts on the other part. Right? Small country, but within that country we have droughts, floods, and then of course associated problems, landslides. Okay, so that is good. Now we also, as an island nation, we have to be mindful of sea level rise. Sea level is rising. Then of course we have air pollution to be considered. This is a major problem. We need to really tackle that. Okay. Transport, through transport we get a lot of pollution coming into the atmosphere. Energy generation, waste disposal, right? Through agriculture, and of course, associated with that we have health problems, dengue and many other problems, CKDU, various other things, right? Then, of course, we have the deforestation taking place, right? And of course, by that we have soil erosion. First, we have the erosion, we have a lot of other problems. Situation of tanks, then soil degradation, many other things. Okay? Therefore, now we need to think of cleaner production. That's also something that we need to think of. Especially for you all, the cleaner production has to be taken on board. You are thinking of sustainability. So, these are some of the problems. Of course, it is not only limited to this, many other things are there. Climate change is related to all this. Okay, that's why I put that. Then think of the country. What are the problems we have? We have a problem with water. Right? I think the problem is the management problem. Yesterday, you heard the news, they are going to raise the water bill. In no time it will come, the bill will go up. Right? So water management is a problem. Because sustainable use is not there right now. We don't have that. Right? So with the water, we have floods, we have drought, water related. Right? Okay. Now in this country, annual rainfall in the dry zone is about 900 millimeters. Okay, in the north and the eastern part. About 900 millimeters per year. Annual. Then in the wet zone, the southwest part of the country, is about 5,000 millimeters per year. Right? Wet zone. Now, if you just take average, not just adding and dividing, but especially if you average, it's come to about 1,900 millimeters of rain. Right? But global average is about 750. So we have plenty of water in this country. You all can come here. There are so many things there. So we have plenty of water, right? We are blessed with water, fresh water. But then we have a problem with water. Right? Some places we don't have drinking water, right? In some areas we don't have water, and some areas we have more than enough water, right? Now, therefore, we need to think of the management. Okay? How we do that, we all also have to think for the future, right? I will give you a little brief introduction to that, how we should do it. But then, now for example, I said, now, we know now, China, India, known to us, no? For some reason, we know, we talk about India and China, but you know, in the climate talks, they are also in our group. Our group meaning developing world. You knew that? India is a developing country like us. China is a developing country like us. You believe that or not? By definition, international definition, China is a developing country, not a developed country. Okay? So, now, the China, India had a real problem, pollution problem. Okay? Because internationally, they are earmarked, because you know, they pollute the environment, they were actually. And now, recently, you must have heard that they are the first in the world to have huge tree plantation. They have planted so much trees. India and China, they are number one. Okay? So that is something positive as compared to the negative effect of pollution, industrialization and pollution. Okay. So China, for example, they will retain 70% of rainwater in 80% of urban areas by 2020. That is their plan. In other words, they will not allow the rainwater to flow to the sea. They will capture it. So we have been doing that for centuries now. Our kings have done that, but not now. Right? It's a problem. So they now do that, and they are also going to go in the sustainable development direction. They have come up, still they are developing. They are going to, you know, they have in the desert, they have arranged a plan. Of course, they are planting trees in the desert. Okay. So we talk about it at the ministry, and I gave them some information, and we need to, you know, do something here as well in the manner, some area and then nobody, right? We need to do something. Okay. So now I have to see diversion. Hypothesis put there. So if you are thinking of water management in this country, we have more in one area or some region of the country, and you have less water in the other region. So if you can manage this total water, you can divert this excessive water to the less water area. In other words, from the wet zone to dry zone, okay, which is, you know, self-sustaining water, and everybody will have water, right? Now we see everybody has to have water. No, our goals are there, and 17 goals is there, water is there, right? And power is there, right? Everybody has to be given. So how do you do this? Maybe as engineers you have to think about it. Right? We say things, but you know, you all have to really think. Now, for example, Kalani, Kalu, and then other rivers coming through, right? And most of the time, the flooding comes to the western part of the country, Colombo and maybe Is there a way that we have this water before it comes and flood, and divert that into maybe Kalani River to maybe Mana side, and maybe Kalu and Nilwara to Hambantara side and Uva side, right? We will be, you know, we will not have floods here, we will not have floods there, right? So how do we do this? Enormous need to pump, right? If you are going to pump, you have enormous energy need, right? So, but there are ways. People have done that in other countries. They have done that, right? So maybe even president is keen on this. So maybe in the upcoming period is coming, if you tap somewhere up and you drive it to maybe 5 bucket Canara, difficult to do maybe some pipes like oil pipes, you lay pipes, right? And the gravity will take the water there, right? You don't have pump, right? So step by step, if you do that, the total water will not come down to the low-lying areas and plant. Okay? So therefore, it is, if you are thinking of water management, maybe you need to think of this diversion. So it's not initiated yet, this is an idea. Maybe one day it will be done. Okay, some plans are there. Right. Then, of course, there are other things. Now, water is related to energy as well. No, you don't know, right? Now, what if you store water somewhere before it comes down? That energy can be used to do many things. Maybe generation of electricity or many other aspects is energy, potential energy. Okay, so that's there. Then, of course, land and soil. If you say now, our watersheds are depleted. The country, we cut trees and everything is now dry and deforestation takes place, right? So watersheds are no longer there, and therefore the rivers are dry, right? And then, of course, because of the cutting trees and deforestation, topsoil is washed away, and the soil degradation taking place, and then filtration of water bodies, tanks, and all places, right? These are, I think, you have seen in news. Right? Even the Mahaveri, basin, the tanks they developed recently, they are silted. So the water that can be retained is less now. Right? That is a problem, right? Then soil fertility. Therefore, we need to add fertilizer. That leads to pollution, right? And degradation of soil. Right? We need to keep on adding fertilizer. Right? So these are really land and soil related problems in the country. Then if you take air, right? Air pollution, as I said before, due to transport, energy generation, mining, agriculture, then industrial processes, waste disposal. These are the things that are really responsible for air pollution in this country. Okay? Many other countries are safe, right? Now, what is the solution? We need to think of reducing pollution. Of course, we said transportation should be improved. Stagnation of vehicle traffic has to be reduced, and also maybe go for other type of energy, because main problem for climate change is burning of fossil fuel. That's the main factor. If you can reduce that, go for something else, maybe electric vehicles, electric buses, electric trains, right? Now, one might argue, even there you have to generate electricity. How? So, power generation can be in renewable ways, or even using fossil fuel can be done. But even you use the generated electricity running vehicles, right? Still better, mainly because you generate electricity someplace, power waste, and pollution is there, of course, but the cities, the congested areas are free of pollution. Okay, health-wise is better, environment is better, right? Of course, if you can use some renewable energy to generate also, better, much better. But even using present day energy generation, still if you use turn to electrical transportation system, much better on the pollution side, of course, right? In the generation, the mining, of course, agriculture, if you go, reduce the fertilizer use, nitrous oxide coming out from agriculture as a pollutant, okay, which leads to climate change, can be reduced. The process, industrial process should be cleaner production. We need to turn into that. Then, of course, waste disposal. Waste has to be disposed in a orderly manner. Of course, in this country, recently I saw a work project. So people are against it again, right? Trying to do something, but then there is a problem. But best thing would be you generate less waste. Then it will be the right way to go. That you generate and dump some. Right? Then the major aspect of sustainability is consumption and production. Those are the two if you are thinking of sustainability. Consumption has to be managed, production has to be clean, right? So, can you achieve sustainable net production? World, meaning world. We should be able to try hard, right? Resources reducing, decoupling with through reduction of this way, we may be able to reduce pollution. We may be able to reduce the resource use. Okay, so reduction in resource intensity, recovery of resources. This has something to do with recovery and less use and sustainable development as right. The design of products, design in a better way, right? Not good order. Then reduction of consumption. But probably people will not like this. But you can achieve what you need, not the way you consume today. So there's a way to reduce that. Okay. Strategies. Waste minimization, pollution prevention, cleaner production. You increase the efficiency. Co-efficiency meaning you increase the efficiency, you efficient motors, efficient bulbs, efficient everything efficient, right? Then you use less energy, right? Then resource sustainability. In other words, we generally say closing the loop. So resource sustainability. In other words, you don't use that many resources. You try to reuse it. Closing the loop. I'll show you that. Right? So, sustainable production is resource efficient and cleaner production. So, sustainable production and sustainable consumption. Those are the two. So, sustainable production is resource efficient and cleaner production. That's the way we need to go. So, this is a famous diagram. You have seen this maybe before. This is not the right way to do it. Now, we put our resources, natural resources into the system, we put energy and water, and we produce something, and finish goods and services comes up from this system. Now, in the process, we waste a lot of things: air emission, waste water, and solid waste. All those things go waste. Now, if you want to be sustainable, we need to reduce this as much as possible, so that this will be high. We put say 100 here, we may get about 50 or 30 here. These things are waste. But we have to improve here. You put 100, at least you should get 80, 85 here. Right? In order to do that, we need to have a system. Your efficient system has to be developed and reduce the waste. Okay. Then comes to sustainable consumption. Right? Sustainable consumption is intelligent consumption. In other words, you consume but in an intelligent manner, setting away the emotional consumption pattern. Maybe think of this, right? Because sometimes you consume emotionally, not that you want to consume, right? Maybe it's a deep meaning in this. Okay, I'll show you something. Now, 100 at the time, only 3 kilograms a day was used. Okay. Then, agrarian society it increased to 1 kilo. 1 kilo, that's how much is there. Okay. Then, industrial society has gone to 44. So, with time, with the development, overall development, we have increased our consumption. Increased our drastically. Increased drastically of consumption. I am not saying that we have to go back to that, but we may be able to control here. We may not need this much. Right? So that's one thing that we have to think properly. If you think carefully, you may be able to come up with a society which has less consumption. This is the problem. Humankind has become garbage kind. From the age you go up and you have a lot of things go waste, not use. Human beings are animals which generate garbage. Now this is from a newspaper. Okay. This is from a newspaper. Okay. The new definition: human beings are animals which generate garbage. None other animal generate garbage. We are the only animal that generate garbage. Okay. Right? The animals who generate garbage. Okay. Now, in our definition, development has something to do with standard of living, right? So, standard of living, we need to improve our standard of living. We say developed countries have a high standard of living, right? Developing countries have, poor countries have low standard of living. That's what we say. Is that true? We don't know. We have to think, right? Whether the development creates high standard of living. Maybe on the surface you will agree, but if you think deep, probably you will not agree. Right? So, standard of living and quality of life is determined by the quality of the environment we live in and not by our consumption. Because now, when you are developed, you consume more. Right? But we don't consider where we live. That's why we say standard of living is defined as the environment you live. Okay. Quality of life. We need to have high quality of life. Right? But then we need to see where we are living. Okay. What is quality of life? It is having more money. Definitely. Okay. If you have more money, you have high quality of life, right? Standard. More materials, we have cars, we have houses, big houses, right? Big cars. Then you think your quality of life is high, right? That's how we go about, right? Having more power. Power means you are needing political power, not just electric power, other power, right? More friends. Okay. Sometimes we have friends, you have enemies as well, right? Then living on a restricted diet plan, because you are afraid that you get a heart attack, diabetes, right? So you try to restrict that quality of life. Right? Then going for medical exam, if you are, you go regular for medical checkups. Living in a degraded environment. In other words, environment you care, you have other things, right? Now, on this medical thing, I just want to let you know something. Now, in this country, of course, we have the medical. How many of you go to the clinic? Probably not many, Many of you go to this where you see a doctor by paying, right? Many of you are doing that, no? What's wrong with this? Yeah. Okay. Right now. Of course, in developing world, we have system. I've been living for 10-15 years in different countries. Of course, I was in the USA for about 10 years. Now there's a system. You don't have pre-medical, okay? But you have to have a medical insurance. Okay? Most probably when you work, the workplace gives you the medical. They pay for the medical, right? Okay, so you have to go for medical every year or every 6 months. The insurance forces you to go. Okay? So you go, you don't have to pay. The good thing is that you detect there's a problem. The insurance is benefited by that because they don't want you to get sick. Because if you get sick, you will be hospitalized and they can pay the bill. So these insurance people don't want you to get sick. So it's good. So if we check regularly, checkups are done, and you know, you are given advice not to get sick. Right? So when you say free, we don't have that now. Therefore, you know, we get sick and the government has to pay more. So I see a good thing about that, because the insurance companies are doing a business. They want to make profit, right? Therefore, they adopt this system. Nothing happens, right? Okay. So if this is the quality of life that you think, well, this breathing fresh air, drinking fresh water. Now, to drink fresh water, we have to go to a bottle. I don't know whether this is fresh one. Right? Some people say if you go to Beta, you get bottles like this with the seal. But is that water? Right? That's the level we are. Okay. You know, I mean, you know, I'm old enough to tell you that we never saw this when we were young. We drank from the tap or the river or the well. I mean, we never had a bottle like this. I mean, this is only maybe 10, 15 years old, bottled water. Right? So that's the situation now. So, if the environment is clean, no pollution, the water will be clean on the rivers. Right? We can drink them. Right? So, fresh air, if you don't have pollution, air is fresh. Right? So, therefore, if the quality of life means that we have breathing fresh air, drinking water, having good education, of course. Right? I have some pictures I did bring to show. They have common paper now, no? O level, A level, they have common paper. There's a nice picture of the school. They say, why do we have a common paper? There's a nice picture where, you know, rural place you have, you know, students are studying under a tree, right? And in the city you have a air conditioned rooms. Okay, so but both groups have the same common tape, right? Same tape, right? So likewise, now having good education, having good health, having comfort, convenience, having a circle of genuine friends, having a caring neighborhood, right? You know, surrounding area, you have friends around, right? Having a peaceful sleep. If you have good surrounding, friends around, you can sleep also. But you know, everybody is together, right? No, you know, thieves will come, right? Okay, so if this, the previous one or this one is better. Previous one, if you remember, this one. Oh, this one. Definitely, I for sure take this second. Okay, so this is how it is. So development is having quality life, standard of life, high quality of life. This as well. Okay. Then of course resource consumption. Now the ecological footprint, we talk about that. Now maybe some of you know about it. You can calculate, right? Whether you you know, your ecological footprint is, you know, within that. Whether you consume more or less and grow more, right? Yeah, you know, you can calculate. There are way of calculating. Calculation clearly indicate that the present population is consuming more than what each can provide. Okay, so it's more, you use more than the available resources. So, okay, leading to resource depletion, leading to degradation of environment, leading to anomalies in quality of life among different societies. Poor gets poor, rich gets richer, right? Threatening the survival of our future generation. So these are due to resource consumption, not in a sustainable manner. Okay, world is on a path to destruction through human activities causing rapid depletion, resource depletion, and heavy environmental pollution, which has exceeded the threshold levels. Right? So we are going now. Let's, you know, so say after saying all that, I am going into the environment aspect. Let's look at climate. I said I should talk about climate in more than other areas. So first, I have given a simple definition of climate: means and variability of temperature, precipitation, and wind. parameters are also there in a time range from years to million of years. So that's the climate. When you talk of climate, climate of Colombo, climate of Sri Lanka, which is that. We talk of temperature, long-term average, rainfall, that's why I said dry zone 750 millimeters, wet zone 1500 millimeters, that is average, that's the climate, average value, average result value. So likewise, we talk about, when you talk about climate, we talk about rainfall, wind, humidity, temperature, precipitation, many other factors, environmental factors. Okay, then what is climate change? We talk about climate change now. So there is a definition given by United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Climate change, this is what I said, the Paris Agreement came to this convention, right? So, define climate change, or change of climate, which is attributed to, I have put it in red, directly or indirectly to human act. That alters the composition of the global atmosphere, which, in addition to the natural climate variability, observed over the comparable time period. In other words, there are two components to this. One is the natural variability, then we have the man-made component. So, adding together, only we get this change, climate change. But the definition, even at IPCC definition is actually directly addressing the human act. So, human makes this climate change. That's what basically we say. So, there are evidence for that. Now, if you think of the aspects or the effects or the factors that change the climate, I'm not going to go into details, many of you know. There are external factors to our Earth climate, right? External factors. Of course, the input is solar energy. To change the energy input, it's going to change. Okay? So, this can change due to sun's condition. Okay? You can solar flares are there. Then you know there are cycles. So you know with that, our environment can change, or the climate can change. Then geometry, in other words, how far the sun is, it also changes. Field of the earth and many other things. Then of course the dust comes through in between. Then the energy will not come. You know, they will block. Then of course the volcanic eruption puts a lot of things into the atmosphere and also abundance, and you get mountains sometimes. Okay, and then of course continual drifts are taking place, and therefore all these factors are natural factors. We cannot change. Okay? But sometimes we aggravate them. Our actions sometimes create these problems too, but they are called natural. On the other side, we have the surface reflectivity. We change, people change, atmospheric reflectivity change, atmospheric chemistry, the amount of dust or the pollutants in the atmosphere is by man influence. Then of course atmospheric ocean heat exchange takes place. All these factors lead to changing climate. Okay? So therefore, ocean, atmosphere, land factors drive this atmosphere with the expansion energy, and that leads to changes if you change those factors. Right? So that's the basic idea. Scientifically speaking, we as humans have influenced the change of climate to change by putting many things into the atmosphere, pollutants in the atmosphere. Composition has changed, and therefore our atmosphere changed, and therefore the climate has changed. Okay? So I can give you some evidence to this. So basically, causes of climate change I have listed here. The first natural factors I told you. Then we have the anthropogenic greenhouse gases, anthropogenic, that is man-made. There are now gases like this. This is not complete. There's carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, CFC, HFC, PFC, SF6, NF4, NF3. All these are greenhouse gases, man-made gases mostly, right? Now, out of this, maybe you have heard about Kyoto Protocol. sometime back, but don't consider that. It's not no longer there now. There's something else now. In the Kyoto negotiations, Kyoto came through UNFCCC, climate change, and then there were 6 gases: carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, HFC, PFC, SF6. Those are the 6 gases that were to be controlled internationally, collectively. They are called greenhouse gases under Kyoto Protocol. Okay. Now, out of this, of course, carbon dioxide is the main thing, because I will show you how the consumption has increased and also how they are warming potential. Now, the other 2 points are burning fossil fuels, the main thing, as I said before. Then, of course, land use changes and deforestation and livestock and urbanization are the main factors that lead to man-made components of the climate change and the greenhouse gas emission. Then, of course, with the increased population also adds to that. But when you talk of carbon dioxide, the main greenhouse gas that leads to global warming, it was only 280 parts per million prior to industrial era, that is 1700, 1800 that time. Now it has reached to about 200 parts per million in the atmosphere. Of course, it's going to increase. If you just don't do anything, it will go up to maybe 540 to 970 parts per million. Now, there's a reason for this. I put it in red. Now, it is well documented now. If you want to control the temperature increase, you have to control carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. How much should be in the atmosphere if you want now? The Paris Agreement, maybe you have heard, they want to create, world want to keep the temperature rise to 2 degrees centigrade. Okay? In other words, from the pre-industrial era, rising temperature should be kept at least at 2 degrees Celsius. 2 degrees centigrade. Now, I have been in this negotiation for many years, from below onward, 10, 15 years maybe. But all this time, the developing world, especially island nations, are crying, saying that increase has to be capped at 1.5 degrees. Don't let it go beyond 1.5 degrees. Now, when you calculate this and see how much concentration in the atmosphere should be there in order to keep it at 1.5. So that atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide should be 350 parts per million. If the carbon dioxide concentration go beyond 350 parts per million, temperature will go beyond 1.5. Okay? But today it is almost 400. Therefore, there is a dream that we cannot have 1.5 degree cap. Therefore, we are trying to have 2 degree. Paris Agreement says maintain at 2 degree at least. How much do you think that to maintain at 2 degree the concentration of carbon dioxide should be? Calculations show it should not exceed 450 parts per million. 450 parts per million carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. If you go beyond that, temperature will rise more than 2 degrees. If you want 2 degrees, limit carbon dioxide concentration at 450. Go below. And we do that, it is also a very good challenge, very big challenge. Okay, so according to the estimates, global average temperature will exceed go between 1.5 to 5.8 during the period 2001. In the turn of the century, it will go up to about 5. So if you take average, at least it will be 3, 2 to 3, right? During the period 1860 to 2000, the global mean sea level has risen by 10 to 20 centimeters. These are real data. Okay. During the next century, global knee sea level is expected to rise from 9 to 88 centimeters. In other words, more than half a meter. If you take the average, maybe half a meter rise. Right? Those are all calculated, predicted ones, model values. Okay? Then we all know perceptual burning with dominant influence of the atmosphere considered carbon dioxide. This is given by, these all are given by IPCC. You have heard what IPCC? Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. This was initiated prior to UNFCCC, but now this IPCC, the intergovernmental body, is the main scientific arm of the climate change. Because climate change conference of the COP take into consideration the factors or the information given by this committee, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. Now we were on that. Of course, you have heard our person Mohan Munasik was one of the members in a committee. We all have been there one time. Now, so it is about 4,000 scientists throughout the globe working on this, and there's a committee, they summarize all that and give up this technical reports, regular technical reports. They are the ones who are saying these type of things after considering all the research done in the world. Okay? So some are more predictions are given. Okay, so the factors, environmental issues, for this is maybe you have seen. So just I'm saying this, these are all interlinked, two-way, not one way. Say for example, stratospheric ozone layer depletion will lead to change climate. If the climate change, temperature goes up, it will influence the ozone layer as well. So air quality degrading, or the increase in carbon dioxide will increase temperature. Temperature increase or the climate change will also influence the atmosphere, right? So weather and other things will be changed. And likewise, all these are interlinked. Okay? Biodiversity, forestry, deforestation, water cycle, everything is interlinked. Okay? So water is the main thing actually. For me, out of this, water is the main thing. It plays a major role in climate change as well. Okay? Because in many ways. But this is not time to go into detail. But if you take water, water is the main factor that leads to climate change, that has a link to climate change. Okay. Okay. So Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, that's a scientific intergovernmental body tasked to evaluate the risk of climate change caused by human activity. That's their task, and this was initiated one tribal report. This was in 1988 with the combination of United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, and World Meteorological Organization, combined them and set up this institute or the committee, IPCC. They are giving us information. Now this is a very interesting thing. Maybe just take some time to look at this. Now this is an example where the human or the man-made or the anthropologic effect is causing the climate change. Now there are three curves here. Observed curve is that. Observed curve. Then predicted natural changes. The green bottom one. Natural, take the natural variability. It is this. Goes up and down, of course. Right? This time. Right? And then if you combine the natural variability with the anthropologic or the man influence on the environment, if you put them together, we have the red curve. So just to show you that the man-made component is the main factor that leads to this change, not the natural. In natural, we don't have the man influence on the climate. The climate will be just flat or going down. Temperature will go down. This temperature versus time. Okay? Temperature goes up mainly because of the human influence. Then this is a fact actually. Okay, so this is maybe you have seen this somewhere. I'm putting this. Currently, I work here for some time. This is in Hawaii, Mauna Loa, top hill, volcanic hill. Why we take this is considered as the global level. There's a reason for that because it is hilltop, about 23 degree north, and oceanic area, island, and no vehicle go there, no industry, nothing, right? Only the whole world is putting up different observatories there. All the countries are having Japan, UK, USA, all there. They take this measurement there, and this is how it is. So we have the annual variability. Of course, spring, summer, it goes down, and the autumn, winter goes up. Because because the trees absorb when they grow during spring and summer, so the concentration goes down in the atmosphere, goes up in the winter. Okay, but apart from that, the moon cycle is continuously going up. Okay, so it's now 2010, it's very close to 400, now past 400. We should not let it go beyond how much? If you want to be below 2 degrees, 450. So in this year, it will go to 450 in no time if you let it go like this. That's the main thing. Right? That's why we need to think of the sustainability, and the environment. So the three main gases are carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane. Both are going up. Nothing coming down. Everything is going up. These are all related to industry. I'll show you where these things are coming from in the industrial world. Okay. Now this is an important thing. Now when you say greenhouse gases, what are greenhouse gases? How is that defined? Now this is the map of the wavelength, radiation wavelength. Okay. And the axis is 0 to 1 is absorptivity. How much is that? 0 means no absorption. 1 means 100% absorption. So 0, 1 absorptivity versus wavelength of the radiation. Now solar radiation comes through all these wavelengths, right? But mainly focusing on where the visible light range, right? To take the curve, peaks in the visible range, right? It's a dumbbell shape, solar energy, right? Now in this we have the very short wave, which are gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays. Then comes visible light, then infrared, then we have long waves, all the radiation, right? So when it comes to the atmosphere or going through the atmosphere, these gases absorb them, absorb and retain. In other words, heats up, right? Because when you absorb radiation, solar radiation, it heats up, right? Okay, so here we have methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and all that. And final one is the total atmosphere. Now we can see there are some areas 100% absorption, total absorption, 1, right? And some areas 0, right? And again it goes up and down. Now there are windows. Here we have some windows for radiation. They are called atmospheric windows. Now here there is a window. No effects from the atmosphere for that radiation. Solar radiation comes through, it comes all the way to the surface. Mainly it is the visible light rate. So it is nature that brings the visible light to the earth, and that is the energy that we uses, the trees uses, we use to see things, warm up, everything is that. Okay? But short wave, gamma ray, UV ray, X-rays are all screened or completely cut by the upper layer, where about 35 kilometers up in the atmosphere we have the ozone layer. And ozone layer filters that and it traps that, it will not come down. So the high energy short wave radiation is cap at the higher altitude, higher elevation, and we won't get at the surface. Right? That's why we are safe here, because we only live. Right? The Mars and all, there's no atmosphere, you cannot live. Right? Here, then this window is very important. Comes through, and the other windows are also important because this 10 micrometer window is used for many things. We satellite communication, to observe the Earth. We need to have some windows, otherwise we cannot see anything, right? So the satellites and all have their instrument tuned to these windows. If you don't have window, if radiation is not coming, the information is not coming, you cannot see anything. There's no window, you cannot see anything, right? Therefore, the windows are very important, right? So this is the spectrum. So for here, we can see that the longer wave, infrared radiation, beyond infrared, all are absorbed by gases in the atmosphere. They are called greenhouse gases. When they are coming, they are trapped. When they are going out, also from the Earth also emits radiation. Earth emits radiation mainly in the infrared region, long wave, depending on the temperature. Right? You must have heard now. The radiation emitted depending on the temperature of the object. Right? Sun at that temperature emits at the wavelength, the maximum comes in the visible area. Earth at its temperature, maybe 37 or 30 degrees Celsius, emits at the infrared range. Right? So, emits in this area. That is trapped by these gases. And if the heat, and therefore it leads to increasing temperature and the global climate change. Right? So, if you increase the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, new gases are there, not only this now, man-made gases there, CFC, HFC, PFC, all industrial gases, they are all man-made, they are not natural. If you put them into, they are also in the air, and then they get more smoking. So this is to show that, right? So this is that 10 micrometer window. This is very important. That window is, CFCs are closing that gap. CFC, CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, right? But where do they use now CFCs? They are no longer there. Thanks to the Montreal Protocol, we eliminated CFC throughout the world. They are not manufactured, they are not used. Now, no trade. Bad. Right? Factories are demanded. So, anyway, these other gases all try to close this window. So, this is what creates the work to work. Okay, so since we talk about carbon dioxide, the main culprit, let's see how this gets into the atmosphere. Now, Annex 1 countries share carbon dioxide emission. Annex 1 meaning this under climate conference, climate treaty, United Nations framework countries. We categorize some countries as Annex 1 countries. Other countries are non-Annex. Now, Annex 1 countries are the developed industrial countries, industrialized countries. So, in that you see USA has a major share, EU has a share, Russia, Japan, and Poland, Australia, and other countries, Canada, they all put this share, but main culprit is USA. Okay, this is 1990 now. Why 1990? Because this is the agreed year that we look at the emission under UNFCCC. Climate change agreed. So 1990 level, because you will see even later we take 1990 as a base year, and then we develop all the regulations based on it. Okay, that's why 1990. Now here, greenhouse gas shares by sector, mainly fuel combustion. 63% comes from fuel combustion in the world. Then we have land use, that's what I said before, agriculture, land use, energy, and mainly from the fossil fuel burning, fuel combustion. That's why if you are thinking of controlling we need to think of this. That's why world is going towards now renewables. In this country, I don't know how far we have gone, but then we are pushing hard. The president has put solar sungram and this and that. Many of you in the CEB, CEB is not so happy to go in that direction, I think. Right? That's what I hear. Right? Anyway, those are problems, local problems we have. Many of the other countries are going in that direction. Germany, for example, going 100. We are planning to go renewable 100% by 2050. We have promised, right? I'll show you that how we do it. Now, anyway, this is the source. Energy supply, very good, huge amount, right? Agriculture, forestry, and then of course buildings. All that. This is how it is divided. Okay. So for us, of course, what is there now? We also energy supply. We have a component. Transport has a component. Our case, if you add, it is these two the major trend. Transport and the energy supply. Of course, other things are less. Things are now to see when you say commercial buildings and all, that is mainly for air conditioning and things like that. But in this country, we have that, but it's coming up now with high rises and all. Mostly air conditioning taking place, and therefore more energy is going there now, right? That is because now forest, now say for example, you cut the forest and you burn, and the carbon dioxide moves out, right? Deforestation, yes, forest, not you increase forest is positive. You absorb more, right? So deforestation, forest is that, and then the change of forest, usage, forest cover change, less forest, right? And the type you change to different, pasture land. For example, you cut the forest and you have pasture land, so the amount absorbed is less. That's why forestry has to be looked at in that way. Deforestation, forest type as well. Then of course, let's see, IPCC gives this. Of course, this is the warming potential, global warming potential of different gases, right? Now, if you just take carbon dioxide as 1, methane has 21. That means, like, if you have 1 molecule of methane, it is like having 21 carbon dioxide. So, if you look at the nitrogen dioxide more, right? So, CFC, we have eliminated that 8,100 times powerful than carbon dioxide. And of course, we have this. Anybody in the air conditioning area? Anybody here? No? No air conditioning engineers here. So, actually, HCFC, now CFC we have eliminated. HCFC is hydrofluorocarbon, right? Mainly used for ACs. We are using, but then it has to be phased out. Gradually, it has to be reduced. Right? CFC was eliminated by 2020. 2010 it was completely eliminated. This 2030 completely this has to go out. Right? How about this one? HFC 138. This was there in Kyoto basket of gases as well. I showed you 6 gases. This is a Kyoto gas. Yes. You know what this is? Hydrofluorocarbon. This is what you use in the air conditioning, mainly in your car. If you have AC, I'm certain that this is true. Now, that also Montreal Protocol put that in, because this is not a ozone depleting gas. This is ozone depleting, this is ozone depleting, and therefore Montreal Protocol took action to deal with this. HFC is not a ozone depleting gas, but it's a global warming gas, and therefore there was a tug of war between. I used to attend these 2 conventions. One is the Montreal Protocol, the other one is the UNFCCC. Now, see, UNFCCC said HFC is to be controlled. It has to be controlled. But Montreal Protocol, what they did, they replaced CFC with HFC. The CFC is ozone depleting, HFC is not ozone depleting. And therefore, CFC was replaced by HFC. Right? So, that is because two conventions are working independently. They didn't work together. Always it happens. Even here, two ministries are working independently. You do this, the other person will do something completely different. But you have to work together so that the problems are less. Now, of course, they stress. Because we used to say that in those meetings as well. You are doing something wrong here. And now, of course, Mandal Board have agreed to phase out that aspect. Okay? So, all this has to be taken care of, otherwise, the global warming will keep on going. Now, just to show you how these industrial gases are coming out, right? Of course, the second column is chemical formula, third column is pre-industrial concentration. These first three gases were there, right? They are natural gases as well. The others were zero. Then, of course, after in 1994, we have introduced this. Some gases are there in the atmosphere, right? And of course, their lifetime 50,000 years as compared to maybe 100 years CFC. This one is 50,000 years CFC4. And this is the potential, as I showed before, global warming potential, right? Where they are coming into the atmosphere, right? These are liquid forms, liquid coolants, aluminium production, direct fluid, fossil fuel burning, also waste dumps, livestock, these two emission of methane. So there's other sources, and then if you increase this, the warming is going to be accelerated. Okay, so deforestation, production of that's a problem. Human activity, burning of fossil fuel, and population growth. Those three are factors that lead to further increase of temperature. Okay, just compare some countries. 1990, there is of course at the base year. You take USA, China, Russia, all that, the amount of emission, per capita emission. Right? Of course, China, here if you take per capita 2.1, the population is so high, they are emitting more than USA. But when you say per capita, okay, always we can calculate per capita mainly because it's, people argue that way. And therefore, this is how it is. Russia, India, Sri Lanka 0.06 in 1990. Of course, we are also increasing now. 2004, now it's more, right? 2004, of course, it's an increase. Everybody is increasing. So now compare Sri Lanka versus USA. It is like 200 times, right? So that like 1 person emitting in USA is like 200 people emitting in Sri Lanka. That is the factor. Mainly due to consumption, their lifestyle. They emit more, right?
Previous slide, of course, the
previous one. Okay.
That is
Carbon dioxide.
27 billion of CO2.
Yeah, billion. You can put it at parts per million, or the billions of, you can also consider as parts, that many parts per million. This many, you can also millions parts. This is a billion parts per million. That's it. So this is again we can compare that with. So as I say now, China is a developing country, India is a developing country, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, all developing countries. Only the next one countries are USA, Russia, Japan. Japan, and those are in the next one countries. So anyway, this is how it is. Now things have changed. Of course, China also has improved. They are putting up more things. Of course, that is forestry. For example, if you increase forestry, the absorption is more. Therefore, you can always calculate and see your per capita emission is reduced by that much. Okay, so this is just to tell you why carbon dioxide is so considered, mainly because temperature and carbon dioxide concentration go together. Higher the concentration of carbon dioxide, higher the temperature. Yeah. Yeah.
How do we calculate these? Let's say how on what ground we say that Russia or USA is making 2026 ton of CO.
Values.
Yeah, how? I mean,
Well, there are ways of calculating it. For example, we also have calculator. What we do is this. Sometimes they are estimated, but basically now we import oil, for example, per year. How much we burn? So if we burn, how much carbon dioxide will be from 1 liter? How much carbon dioxide? Right? That we can calculate. So many of the areas we can calculate like that. Putting them together, the total value for the country is calculated. Transport, oil burning, the number of vehicles, how much we use, right? So it's not perfect, but to some extent it's accurate enough. And then of course waste, you can calculate how much waste, and there's a factor how much methane will emit. It will just down. Okay. Likewise, of course, there's a with us now. Now I'll come to that actually. We have what called every country has to report now. National communication has to go to UNFCCC Secretary. It's called national communication. There we have to report the emission from various areas: forestry, transport sector, energy sector. We have to calculate that. We as well as other countries, right? And we have to supply that.
It's a very serious statement. Let's say humans are also generating carbon dioxide, and they also produce.
Yeah.
Not only the fossil fuel, right?
Okay.
The population is there, and the outcome of the human is also carbon dioxide. So, what is
You mean exhaling?
Yes.
Exhaling, of course, yeah. So that factor is
Does
not
that
like,
count?
no, that is not. But if you want, you can do it with the population. Population is there. You can have a factor per person is this much for the year. You can calculate all this, but that's not calculated. It's not being taken. That's why I say population growth leads to that also comes as a factor. Population growth, exhale plus the consumption. That's why population growth also leads to global warming. It was considered like that. But we don't consider the human. Then of course animals also that considered. So that those are all natural factors. It's not man-made factors. We don't consider.
You said that human activity.
Yeah, activity, yes. So this is not activity. I mean, you breathe. It's not an activity. I mean, you don't consider as an activity. You live by breathing. So we don't consider that. Like, good question actually. We don't do that actually. We don't calculate that part. Okay, now this is IPCC projections, right? This is now temperature, then the time. These are prediction of atmospheric temperature. You have different lines, of course, due to various model output, different reasons. But the main thing is that all the models give rising temperature, right? And the range is actually 1.4 to, I said before also 5.8. That is this range. So if you take halfway, maybe here, maybe 3 degrees. This is up to 2010. Now of course this is done before, right? Now with the input data, you have new range still. For the future also it will increase. Data super also shows increasing. Right? 2100 turn of the century. This is how it is predicted. At least 3 degrees. So the Paris Agreement says it should not go beyond 2 degrees. here. So that means you have to bring it down like this. Okay, that's the aim. So melting of glaciers. Now we know that due to temperature rise, the Himalayan snow melting, all this melting, and then it goes into the sea, right? And therefore the sea level goes up due to thinning of ice sheet, warmer water causes thermal expansion also, right? So therefore this is the average figure now, 4 millimeter per year. At that rate it goes up. We'll have to be concerned on that also. I'll show you why. We are an island. So therefore, now this is also going to give prediction of the ice extent. Okay. It is going down, and this is prediction now. 2050, 2070 also it's complete sometime. If some, these are all models. Some models say it will be almost no ice sheet in the polar regions. So that's so for that, from that we can calculate the ocean height. And this is the global mean sea level, again prediction by 2100. So I showed you before, it will go up to at least 0.88 meters, about to I gave you. So at least half a meter average. That's the prediction. Now these are the latest things. Of course, there will be a snow cover going down, ice extent going down, right? Then the sea level going up. Right? These are real values. And then, of course, most importantly, changing global average upper ocean heat content. In other words, our atmosphere is driven by not the sun's energy. Of course, sun's energy indirectly is the ocean drives the atmosphere. Ocean gives energy into the atmosphere by various means, and then atmosphere is driven by the ocean, tropical ocean. There was a program called POGA, Tropical Ocean Global Atmosphere Program. For 10-year program ran because of the El Nino that is happening in the Pacific. The whole world was engaged in that. Some time back, of course, I happened to be there some time ago. So really, this heat content, if it increases, the atmosphere will behave in a completely different way. Okay? That's why I said the water, the atmosphere is given energy from below mostly, because if you see the solar energy comes to the surface. I showed you it is not trapped in the atmosphere; it comes down, and mainly in the tropics. If you take the tropics, it's ocean. So heat reservoir is the ocean. Everything comes there, and then from there it comes up to the atmosphere. So therefore, this is very, very dangerous situation. Okay, so let's look at the prediction on temperature, the precipitation, rainfall. Now these two panels are December, it is winter, which is summer. For us, it is like northeast monsoon. This is like southwest monsoon. Right? If you look at our region, you see the this color. Right? That means we are getting less minus precipitation on the average in the winter time or northeast monsoon period. It is not so good. Northeast monsoon is time that the north and east gets rain. Mostly the paddy cultivation area is getting rain from that. Right? Second winter monsoon and the northeast monsoon. Right? Then this one is southwest monsoon actually, June, July, August. Southwest monsoon, what we have is more rain. So this tells us, this is the of course global view, but what we see is during winter time or the northeast monsoon time, we are going to get less rain, which is not so good, and the southwest monsoon time, we are going to get more rain, which is also not good. We get flooding and landslide, all that. So it's a trouble situation for us. If this was reversed, it's good for us. If this was happening at that time, And that happens this time, right? But it is the other way around. Okay. We also see locally, our studies show that dry zone is getting drier as compared to wet zone. Wet was getting wet. These are our models also. Our studies also show this. So therefore, it's not good. That's why I say water management is very important. If this happens, if you can take this area somehow, then we will be okay. Otherwise, we will have a drought situation, and our agriculture will fail there. And on this side, we will have enormous other problems. Okay, so therefore, now being a developed country, we are also this, and a nation, of course, very much vulnerable to climate change. Now in the world ranking, we have come to the second place now. First, the countries, disaster risks are calculated due to climate change. And then in that, we were in the 90s, a few years ago, last year, because we had this drought, 2 years consecutively we have drought and flood, and we had disasters, and we have come up to the rank 2 in the world. Yeah.
There are contradictions because our country, the CO2 emission and other factors behind climate change is very low.
Yes.
But we have been ranked as the second.
Yeah. No. Yes.
So it may be, very unfair.
No, that's right. Now, see, a very good question actually. Now, that is why we say, now I had sometimes I didn't do those. Now, the developing countries are in the tropical belt, right? Least, we put least amount of carbon dioxide. We are less contributing to this problem. The northern countries, the developed world are doing this, all this, atmosphere is common to all of them. We cannot be separate, even though we put little bit, we are not, saved that way. So they do things and we are suffering, right? That's what we are saying. We don't contribute that much to this change, but we are affected by this great change. So that's why in the negotiations, we fight with them. See, polluter pays principle. We try to import on this. That's why they are agreed to, some way, assist developer. There are funds generated. I will talk about it a bit later. But with great difficulty, we have this Human Kyoto Protocol, something like that. This UNFCCC has arms developed for helping developing nations. We also get, there are funds like, adaptation fund, and then we have green climate fund. We all, can access these funds to do things here, sustainability. Right? So we are having some projects here. Right? Okay, so these are the areas that we need to think of: temperature rise, sea level rise, droughts, high intense rainfall, of course, increased land activity, threat to supply agriculture, threat to freshwater supply, biodiversity loss, human health. Those are the main areas that we need to think of in relation to climate change, environment degradation. So in that, agriculture, water resources, human health sectors are most vulnerable. Therefore we focus on these things. When you take agriculture, even CKDU is there. Water resources, of course, related to many things, our diseases, many other things. Okay. Human health also affected due to climate change. Right? So those are areas we need to really focus our attention on. So this is what I will say. If you take the sea level rise, this red areas are the thing area. If you take this half a meter, this is how it will be. So all this will be under sea. Red area will be sea, right? And that, for example, affect us in many ways. Our coastline, 24% of the land, our population is mostly in these areas. Commercial ports, fishery harbors, infrastructure, daily hotels, highways, railway lines, all those are there. And then biodiversity, coral reef, right? Mangroves, lagoons, all are there. They are all gone. Then, of course, highly populated areas are urbanized areas such as southern western area. So that will be affected by climate change, and then economic, environment, social problems will be there mostly. And even here, our valley areas, right, Ampara to the Batik flow side, right, salt water intrusion, our agriculture will be suffering, right, and then many of the social, environmental, and economic problems will be there due to this. We cannot take it as simple situation. Because we need to plan. We have to move things inland, right? Many of the things will be problematic for us. But it is not sudden, but gradually. So our planning has to be there. Either prevent or adopt, right? Yeah.
Your prediction, when will this happen? That IPCC continue further?
Now, half a meter. You see at the turn of the century, it will be 0.88 centimeter. So I am just putting as maybe half a meter, right? Turn of the century means 2100. 50 years, 50 years, before after 2050. So 50 years later, not our lifetime, but then our generation. Sustainable development is that. We need to think ahead, right? So it is a problem. It is a slow process. Sea level rise is a slow process, not quick, right? But it is realistic. If you go in this direction, if you let the climate to change like this, temperature goes up, means we need to really think of that. Okay, so yeah. Financial. Yeah.
That's a perception of that, because I have never seen anyone coming out of that, because we know that it is similar before. But as somebody done in his studies on that, that is in
no, of course we can put it into this general situation. See, people are not considering that. Of course, the minister knows about it. The minister will talk about it. But one time he was talking about it. He was the environment minister. We worked together. So he is aware, of course, but then it's not coming up, with this new development. Now, I don't know how high is the area now. Maybe not even 1 meter, right?
Actually, I have been checking on that, but I could not find it. Even if you go to the website, there was no issue.
Now, I mean, after filling, how high it is? Or But see, you don't know whether they have taken care. Some people, now see, for example, Maldives and all, they are building walls around the island, some island. That's prevention. So you will be like underwater. I mean, sea level is up. There are countries like that. So if you have a wall, right, sea is up, but you live there, right? That is also a possibility. But then you cannot do that here. I don't know what happens to both things. No idea. Yeah, that is a problem with this. Now, this is some history, right? I said 1992 Rio. It initiated this UNFCCC, and the Biodiversity Convention, and the Desert Convention on Desertification. All three started in 1992 in Rio. 3 conventions: United Nations Framework on Climate Change, Convention on Biological Diversity, Convention on Desertification. Okay, so now objective of this is stabilization of greenhouse gas concentration in the atmosphere at a level that would prevent dangerous anthropogenic interference with the climate system. So the main aim of this is this: stabilize. In other words, keep it at some level. But it has been now how many years? More than 20 years, right? 2012 now. I mean 27 years now. This convention. Okay. So under that we had a Kyoto Protocol, now no longer there. This was a real troublemaker for us. It was initiated, but there, of course, main objective was to industrialized countries should reduce their combined greenhouse gas emission by at least 5% compared to their emission level in 19. This is the basic during the period when we already gone now, but they never achieved this. Only 5% you reduce your emission 1990, take 1990, reduce 5% from that during this period, but it didn't materialize. It's all India's countries, Annex 1 countries. What to do? So it's a protocol. Input, right? Now now the argument is now why only us? What about China? What about Brazil? What about India? So those are the arguments there. Now therefore, finally we have come to Paris Agreement. I will talk about a little bit later. So options available: mitigation or adaptation. Right? For us, I think more of adaptation. We cannot do much more. When you get it to zero, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't make any effect. So this is like prevention is better than cure in the health side. Right? I talked about insurance. It's like that. Right? Prevention is better than cure. So if you can prevent, you can mitigate. It's much better than adaptation. Right? Okay. So what is mitigation? Mitigation is the technological change and substitution that reduce resource input and emission per unit of output. That's what I said about the cleaner production. Social, economic and research would be produced and emission reduction with respect to climate change. This is the main. Mitigation means implementing policies to reduce these GHG emission and enhance sink. Enhance sink means more trees, more forest. Right? So that's mitigation. Of course, adaptation, you know what is it, right? So they are in that process. We have the CDM, State Development Project. So this is there in the Kyoto Protocol as well. That's Article 2, right? Of course, Sri Lanka is low, but we also can participate and do something, because if you can get assistance, and then we may plant trees, go for water energy, maybe solar energy, wind energy, things like that. So therefore, we were there in the Kyoto Protocol as CDM project. There. So we are promoting that. Then of course, CDM projects, sectors that are CDM projects are identified in Sri Lanka: hydro, wind, solar, organic waste, forestry, biomass, others. Those are the areas where the Sri Lanka has identified projects to do CDM projects. Right? Some are working, some are all done. CDM is that clean development mechanism. Yeah. Okay. So now, what is needed by the science to keep the temperature increase below 2 degrees? I was talking about this Paris Agreement. Okay. To do this, world must reduce emission by 50% by 2050, the peak around 2020. World should cut by 50% emission if you want to be there, not to exceed 450. Right? Annex 1 country, that is industrialized countries, 30% emission cut by 2020, with peak between 2012 and 2015, and at least 80% cut by 2050. Industrial countries, now out of this 50% reduction, 80% has to be done by the industrial countries, Annex 1 countries. Developing countries, 20% against 1990 by 20. So 20%, 80%. Out of 50%. That's the thrust. Okay. That has to be done in order to prevent temperature increase by more than 2 degrees. Okay. That's the level, so that's the Paris Agreement. Okay, this agreement is not to enhance the question of efficiency. Aim is to strengthen the global response to the threat of climate change in the context of sustainable development. This is how the Paris Agreement works. Now, UNFCCC says you stabilize greenhouse gases. Now, going under UNFCCC, now Kyoto was trying to do something. Kyoto is no longer working, and therefore now we go with the sustainable development effort to eradicate poverty. Through that process, we try to come as a solution given in the Paris Agreement. So that's why the 2012 Sustainable Development Goals have come up with the Paris Agreement. Sustainable has been the forefront now. So that also Paris Treaty encourages sustainable development. The world is working on it. Okay, that means that the agreement includes peak greenhouse gas emission as soon as possible and achieve a balance between source and sinks of greenhouse gases in the second half of the century. After 2050, you have to have this balance. Emission and sink has to be balanced. Okay, cannot exceed. Whatever you put has to be absorbed. Right? So keep the global temperature increase well below 2 degrees and to pursue efforts to limit to 1.5. This is the content I was talking about sometime back. But do this. Just emission, and sink balance won't help. You have to have more sink because you have to absorb more from the atmosphere to reduce the concentration. Okay, so we have to go negative carbon dioxide. So the Paris Agreement say review progress every 5 years, and there's a 100 billion a year climate finance for developing countries by 2020 with a commitment to future finance. This is what I said. Developed world has taken some responsibility and say we will help you financially, technically, and resource-wise. So that's the aim. How far this will work, I don't know. But then there is this. This is actually climate finance. Mainly comes from Green Climate Fund. It's already there. Adaptation Fund already there. Then of course Leaves Developed Country Fund is there. Then Island Country Fund is there. All those funds are there now. Only that we have to make sure that we use that and do it properly in the country. Do the sustainable development activities, so that we will develop, but in a sustainable manner. That is the main task that we have.
Sri Lanka working on currently
yeah.
That is entitled for us as a country.
Yeah. We have gone with projects to Green Climate Fund. It's almost done, and we have got some fund before. We had several projects run by Adaptation Fund, right? Yes. Mostly it goes to adaptation. But sometimes you do adaptation which lead to mitigation as well. For example, if you we don't have petroleum, we need to reduce that. So we do some maybe solar energy projects. There we adapt to the situation as well as we mitigate. Okay? If you increase forest, of course, we increase sinks, and then we adapt. Soil erosion is reduced, right? Then the watershed management is taking place. So we have some projects like that. We want to increase the catchment area of new areas in the Napas region. The projects are going on.
One more question now. Sri Lanka, the per capita carbon dioxide emission in Sri Lanka is around 0.2 something.
Yeah.
Now, as per your understanding, are we having sufficient forest cover for the moment to make it sustainable? The sink and the source.
The sink is not only forest. The other ways now. Now, forest, of course, we are going to go now about 29.4 the total coverage we have percentage-wise in the land area.
We have the enough coverage.
Yeah, no, and we are going to increase it to 32% at least, right? And also, we are now promoting on the. You can see now nowadays, many of the agencies are saying that this much the radio, the TV saying 100 trees, 50,000 trees. You see advertisement. So that means even not only forest, in the homelands, the roadways. So we try to increase the number of trees, right, as much as possible. And of course, then reducing emission, clean development mechanism, and many other ways that we reduce the number of emissions also. Right? Go for renewable energy. That is also in the pipeline. So through that process, we reduce the emission plus increase the sale. That's the only way to do it.
Do you see any development source and the sink is balancing?
We are planning for future, not right now.
Not right now, nothing happening right now.
Right now, we are increasing the forest cover, and we are promoting renewables. Right? We are promoting electrification of our transport sector. Right? Likewise, we are gradually going in that direction. So through sustainable development concern, we may be able to go to that process. The whole country has come together. Now that's why at the beginning I said it is diverse. People do things, not in unison. We need to work together, then we can achieve the target. Otherwise, one ministry is doing something, other ministry is doing something. I can say many examples, but I don't want to criticize people. Because now, the politicians, for example, they don't go where they are going. No general policy, Even there as a policy, one person comes up as a minister, he does something else. Right? I can give you example, but I don't want to say it now. Right? Many things. I have been in this system for some time. I'm a university academic, but I have been working in the ministries and the agencies. I was the chairman of the National Science Foundation, chairman of the National Science and Technical Commission until recently. Right? So we have plans for sustainability. I'm on the Sustainability Commission. We have plans, we have discussed things, but the only thing is that it is hard to see that no proper long-term planning is there in this country. That's the whole problem. Because we have something on the ground, and then somebody comes and goes in some other direction. We are thinking of sustainability, but sometimes you encourage people to come and jump here, the whole industries. Emission will be high there, right? We need to have export-oriented science and technology development. You produce things that you export and earn income, foreign exchange, right? Not just buying and selling system. But many other places like that, we do. How many things you see on the street? Chinese, rubber, from the rubber things to the toys to things like that. That is policy change, and you dump here finally garbage, right? So the policy is a problem in this country. Hopefully, things will change in the future. But right now, I'm not, as a person, I'm not happy that the things are happening. Okay? We try to promote the things that are good for the country. That's what we can do. Hopefully, if you all get together, probably, we are mindful and then think about it. And, of course, wherever in a small way, if you contribute, probably things will be better. Right? Okay? So, now these are, I was talking from 3 or 20, of course, we have these 17 development goals, right? They are action oriented, global in nature, and universally applicable, and also indicators focus on measurable outcomes, right? That integrate economic, social, and environmental aspects and recognize their interlinkage. So we cannot, separate these three aspects. We need to consider everything. Now, when you have a project, that's EIA, for example, some people want to take it. You go and do something, you do the EIA data, right? Environmental impact assessment, right? In order to have some, develop industry or something, you have to have the EIA done with, right? So many things we must have seen in press, and it is not happening the right way, right? But what to do? Then, of course, meet the total resource consumption by growing population productivity. That population survive. They think of that. More habitable Earth, right? People are going to Mars. I will show you some pictures on this. Now, this is very important. Reduce resource consumption by a factor of X. X will be 4 to 10. You want to survive. You want to fight by future solutions. Right? Those are things. So this is what this is not mine, but somebody has put it down. So we now by 2022 we have to have 2 Earths to have enough resources for us. Right? Based on the current production and consumption, by 2050 meet our have 2 planets here, 2 Earths, right? Go in that direction, maybe 2000 we have 4 planets. Okay, so this is basically how the strategic resources we take and then throw away. This is the problem. Consumption, right? Resource. What we need is this. We need to have a life cycle. Reduce the waste and put that into the cycle, right? So that we will reduce the consumption of resources. Then, okay, now in Sri Lanka we don't have petroleum resources, but we have mineral, water. There is a resource, marine resources, biodiversity, forestry, wildlife, and we have these resources. We have application measures as foundation, but you can see these are our resources. Forest is our resource, water is a resource, air is a resource for us, right? But we don't consider that. Forest is a resource. But in our World Bank report, we don't have forest as a resource. Right? These are all resources. You know? We can always manage them in a proper way. Okay. Now brown mainly because air is polluted, right? Land is solid waste dump, water, unlimited discharge of wastewater. So all this goes, and we are not green, we are brown. Industries are brown. We need to make it green. We are, of course, this is something maybe to think. Now, for example, when you are having garbage, it's generated in the city, but you go and dump in a place where poor people live, right? And industrial sources are located in that way, not the areas. So there's also disparity. Now, CKD, for example, in the farm areas, but less response given to that. You talk about it, but nothing happens, right? So if it is on Columbus 7 or so, it may be much more efficient, working on that. That's a problem. How agriculture is also like that. Now, reduce genetic diversity, monoculture be used, right? Polluting agents are clear. Soil is killed, don't get fertilizer, right? And of course, social capital depletion. So a lot network. We have good olden days. We have this network, all that. Now there's nothing like that. It's a business now, not agriculture. Agribusiness has come up, right? So those are problems. Agriculture also has a problem now. Then we have kind of pest control is difficult, but then maybe in a large scale how do you do it? But there are ways of doing it. Now grain has protein content. You can save cost of animal husbandry. As well as you need to lot of methane emission, right? Associated environment cost and yield. Now fatty acids and food, you can reduce that. Okay, sugar, all that. If you eat wholesome picture now, health, agriculture, all that has to be considered together, right? Now this is in Brazil. They use maybe some of buses are run by natural gas, biogas, not natural gas, biogas. Sugarcane used for this. And eco design is something you can use. Now when you eat ice cream cone, you eat the cone as well, right? So there can be these things can be there. You don't throw it away, you eat that as well at the end, right? We can affect the agri-based plastics, right? So there are things that we can improve globally, locally also we can do this. Then this is zero detergent washing, right? This is done with the electrolyzed water, utilizing ultrasonic waves. No detergent use, only water. And it's what is also not going to be dirty after, right? You can purify it. And decopier, how many papers we throw after copying, you can decopy, clean, then you can use it as a new paper. There are processes like that. You take the ink out. Okay? So environment is part of us. We are part of the environment. Now this is for engineers. Now this, from nature we learn. Now see, this is a ant, right? And here you have the ventilation, and you are covered by rain. So you use that. And of course, there are many things that we learn from nature, right? I don't have to go to you. You can think about it from nature, from surrounding. We have learned something. This is something that we have done. This is how it's defined by looking at the ant mentioned. Okay, and we have what you call INDCs. How much time we have? I go quickly now. Right. So what you call now under Paris Agreement, or before that, we have something called determined contribution, nationally determined contribution. In other words, we say that we will do this in order to prevent global change. It can be adaptation or mitigation. We say we do this, right? Every country gives this intended national determined contribution for preventing climate change. Right? So we also have that. We have given that. Okay. So they are called adaptation planning. We have this, right? And then domestic mitigation measures. So this is a mandatory thing now. We give the indices, and then all the countries are putting. We are going to do these things, and thereby we are going to reduce this. So by 2050, we have to reduce that much. So all the countries are giving this. This goes to the Secretariat, and they look at how much going to be decreased. And they are monitoring. MRV, monitor and reporting is there. So finance support is there, mitigation and adaptation both. So we under UNFCCC, right? Adaptation, these are human health. These are the adaptation we have put forward. Sri Lanka, food security, agriculture, livestock, then water, irrigation, coastal marine biodiversity. All these are taken as our adaptation aspects. We are going to adapt to these things, right? Then of course, food production, making. These are some of the things we are going to do. I think we have no enough time. So these are now things that are mandated by the UNFCCC. Each party shall communicate indices every 5 years, and they have to report how much you have done and how much you have done. Now you can change in every 5 years. Your INDCs can be changed. NDCs can be changed. National contribution can be changed, but you have to upscale, not down. No, you have to reduce further, then you can report. But you cannot go down once you are agreed, right? So these are some of the things. Now, as the consumption, as the GNP, this is normal thing. As the per capita increases, consumption goes up. This is how it is. More developed, more meat. This is meat consumption. Because other things are also like that. But we can do this. Reduce. Why? There are reasons for that. To reduce meat consumption, you save you prevent climate change as well. Now, for example, this is the water required to produce 1 kilogram food. Now, potatoes to beef, right? Maize, rice also there, right? These are the, so if you use less water, then you help the environment, right? So this is the US beef to corn. And we need to go in this direction. Ours is a linear economy. It has to be circular economy. Maybe you have heard about it. We are linear. Linear economy has to be circular economy. Technical, material, biological, energy should be renewable resources, not in the linear direction. You can look through those are things. Design based. Okay. So I think I am going to finish this here. If we have time, I can show you some few pictures, right? This is the end of the lecture, right? Okay, so this is the consumption. This is what you want, right? There are other things that I can show you. Let me see. going to show you a few pictures. Day before. If you have questions, you can ask actually. I'm going to show you just for your pleasure. That's what I can see. This. This is one picture. This is what I was saying. We pollute the environment, but animals want, right? This is what is happening. I'll show you another one. I cannot see this now. So many things. No, I cannot take it now. I had some pictures, but I cannot trace them now. So many things in this. Of course, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Anybody can help me. I want to get maybe latest ones. Anybody knows how to see? Huh? Yeah, sort them.
You need the latest one, right?
Okay, latest.
So we'll go with the you mean images, right?
Images. The date is okay. If you put it date, it will come up on top.
These are the images that you have.
Okay.
So you open one by one.
No, not that. Not that. The date, the time. I put them today. Actually.
Then these are
Date.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is
right.
the one,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that one. So the next one.
You can keep on clicking here.
Yeah. So,
This is the one, right?
yeah. Now, this is also something to think about. Sitanna, these are things that somebody sent me actually, not mine, but that's something. හැමදාම අපිත් එක්ක ග්‍රෑම් 250ක් බර ෆෝන් එක අරන් යන්න පුළුවන් නම් ග්‍රෑම් 350ක් බර පවර් පැක් එක අරන් යන්න පුළුවන් නම් කඩේට යනකොට ග්‍රෑම් 3ක් විතර බර රෙදි බෑග් එකක් අරන් බැරියයි. This is, well, now see, I was in Australia for about 3-4 months now. I came only in January. Everybody, when you go to the market, they have few bags in the car, in somewhere. Then they always take that and they put that into the. Otherwise, they will not buy it. Not much, but then you have to buy a bag, $5 or $10. So they always make it a habit that they have this with them. Let's look at the other one. Okay. Go to the next one. Arrow?
This.
Where's the arrow?
This.
Right.
You keep on getting this.
Okay. Right. Ekkasaka watinakam. Look at this now. I mean, nobody thinks about it. Huh? Just tree, right? That's useful, right? I mean, we don't think about it, right? Next one is this. This is very interesting. If one can do, this is Japanese, huh? If one can do, you can do. If no one can do, you must do. Then Indians, if one can do, let him do. If no one can do, what can I do? Sri Lankan, if one can do, don't let him do. If no one can do, Chinese will do. Right? This is somebody sent me, not mine, huh? But that's something actually. This is something to think about it. Okay. Now, this is also something that's very interesting. Dumriya ha gaman maga. Have you heard of this now? This, of course, we know London. This one, you know what this is? This is, latest in USA. They are going to run this, you elevate, it's a magnetic, right? You elevate and run with the, this as vacuum. Inside, you reduce the air resistance. You vacuum within the tube. This runs fast as bullet train over speed. Right? That's they have developed that. So the energy cost is minimum, and you go fast. Right? And of course, Sri Lanka, they are put like this. Even Bangladesh is like this. India is like this, but we are like that. Okay. Okay, I was showing this. We spend billions of dollars to find life on other planets, and trillions of dollars killing the life on this one. Something to think about. Thank you.